Based on my experience and the experience of other lifters, I would say that sequencing the exercises in the right order in your workout or in your training program is very important when it comes to the muscle growth and longevity. Weighted dips are generally known to be a bit more strenuous on the body if you compare them to, let's say, weighted push-ups or the dumbbell bench press. One of the solutions would be to place the weighted dips later on in the workout. Starting the workout, let's say if your focus is training the chest, start with the movements which place the tension you feel during your work sets on those exercises in a contracted position or when your muscles are fully shortened. For example, the weighted push-ups without the deficit. You experience good amount of tension and you generally fail in the mid to fully contracted position. So I would say that if you start the workout, place those exercises first in the training session. And then after a couple of similar exercises or lifts which train the chest, move on to the weighted dips. For example, I had a nagging pain in my bicep tendons. If I look back on my training log and what I was doing back then, I would say the pain was strongly correlated to the fact that I was pushing hard sets and using even intensifiers on the movement, such as incline double curls, which placed a lot of tension on my biceps, but at the same time I experienced a lot of strain and a lot of stress on my connective tissues. If I want to train the biceps, I shouldn't be limited to only one exercise, which is great, but it places a lot of strain and stress on the connective tissues in the stretch position. For example, instead of starting with the incline dumbbell curls or doing only incline dumbbell curls, I would switch to doing the hammer curls with a neutral grip, dumbbell hammer curls, and then maybe the spider curls, either with the easy bar or the dumbbells, and then cable bicep curls. And then at the end of my workout, I would finish with the incline dumbbell curls, and I wouldn't use the intensifiers on the working sets. When I was pushing heavy weights on overhead triceps extensions, cable variation, lying tricep extensions, similar to the skull crushers done with the dumbbells or the barbell. I would say that the thing which helped me the most to deal with this type of elbow stress and the strain that I experienced on my elbow tendons, my elbow joints, is that doing more work in the contracted position. For me, it was the regular tricep pushdowns done with a rope or the straight bar, where I fail at the contracted position instead of trying to push in the lengthened position doing the partials and the intensifiers, which prolong the set but place quite a lot of strain on my tendons. Another thing which comes to my mind is that certain movements such as heavy barbell work, aside from managing this fatigue and the stress that you do experience while training hard and heavy, I would say that placing some of the variations, the barbell variations, later on in your workout would be a good idea. For example, if you're doing the behind the neck overhead press, move it to the second shoulder press of the day. Put the first dumbbell overhead press or the machine overhead press. That way you will better prepare your shoulder joints, your elbows, your wrists to be ready and be more warmed up, better handle the stress in the behind the neck position. And probably you will require less warm-ups overall after a couple of those exercises done for multiple sets, the sets which are done relatively hard and heavy. But because they are more joint friendly or safer on your joints, you have accumulated work and prepared your body to handle the position where your body experiences more tension in the stretch position. Load management is also important. Aside from doing those exercises which are more strenuous in the stretch position, but those movements, try to not push them beyond failure or even close to failure regularly, because again, it's not just the muscles which experience a lot of tension in that stretched position. It is also your connective tissues, your joints, your tendons, which take quite a lot of time if you put a lot of stress, and which they have to recover from. I would say that it's important that you observe how your body reacts during the work sets on certain movements. I'm not saying that the weighted dips or the incline dumbbell curls are inherently dangerous or not a good movement for muscle growth. I just want to say that those movements should be placed later on in your workout when your body is more warmed up, more ready to work in those deep ranges of motion where it experiences a lot of tension, and you work with relatively heavy weights in the positions where your tendons and your muscles are fully stretched out or lengthened. Maybe leave 1 or 0 reps in reserve, but do not push it to failure where you fail the rep. Make sure you keep an eye on the weights that you're using. It's the same thing as the leg extensions and the barbell squats or the heavy split squats done with the barbell, or take, for example, even the machine squats, the hack squats, the leg presses. I would say those movements, you can see the difference between them. The leg extensions, you can push them close to failure, even going beyond safely, but when it comes to more bigger movements, which are more technical, or place a lot of tension in the stretch positions where your body experiences a lot of stress and strain on the tendons in those deep positions. Of course, you can adapt, but those movements always will remain as the ones that you never go beyond failure, because it's not practical to do so. If you fail, you might get injured or might strain something or pull something which will set you back in your training progress and your training process, and you won't be able to grow because you are not able to train heavy and hard. Why? Because you've pushed the more strenuous exercises with the same type of intensifiers or intent which you did on the movements which are more suited for this type of a training style.